Hello again, everyone. So yesterday I did my preview and picks for the NHL Conference Finals, and what I'm going to do today is the same thing, but for the NBA Conference Finals. So in the Eastern Conference Final, we got the Cavs versus the Hawks, and then in the West, we got the Warriors versus the Rockets. I'm going to talk about the East first. Hawks being the number one seed, obviously they finished off their season with a 60-22 record, very impressive to get to 60 wins. And then the Cavs were the number two seed with a 53-29 record. Now with the fellow people I talk basketball stuff with, I think unfortunately people are writing the Hawks off before the season has even started. Before the series has even started, my apologies. Mainly because LeBron and Kyrie are going to be too much of a challenge for the Hawks to overcome to get to the NBA Championship Finals. And as much as that is true in my opinion, I do think the Cavs will win this series. I'll say that right off the bat. But I don't think the Cavs are going to sweep the Hawks. I do think it's going to be a 6-game series. I'm going to say the Cavs are going to beat the Hawks in 6 as my prediction. But I don't think the Hawks should be written off right away. They could pull up an upset. As much as I do like the Hawks, I'm not a big LeBron fan personally, kind of thing. For me, there's lots of reasons behind that. When he was 25 and he left the Cavs to go to Miami and get a championship, to me, when you're 25, you don't go to a team to chase the championship. You're 25. You stay loyal to your city. You stay loyal to where you're from. You go through the growing pains, and then you eventually win a championship with your team. And I think he went to Miami, got his championship there. Then he comes back to Cleveland, back home, but now Kyrie's blossomed. Oh, we're bringing Kevin Love along with you. Oh, sweet, I can go home and I can win a championship. When you're 25, I don't think you leave a team to go win and to chase the championship with another team. To me, that's something you do when you're 35 if you want. You've been with the same team for 10, 12 years, and you've gone through a rebuild, and you still haven't won a championship, and now you're coming up on retirement, and you want to get that title before you finish your career. Then sure, then I'm fine with people who decide to do that. That I'm completely okay with. Like with Chris Bosh, for example, I'm Canadian, obviously, so I like the Raptors. When Chris Bosh left, I was okay with that. He stuck around with the Raptors for a little while, had an opportunity to go and play with Wade and LeBron in Miami. I was okay with that. Same with when Vince Carter left. A lot of people were upset about that. But I think I'm okay with those kind of scenarios. In 3 or 4 years, if the Raptors still haven't won a championship and Lowry wants to leave, I'll be completely okay with that if he hasn't won a title yet. So looking at this series though with the Cavs and the Hawks have a great starting 5 roster. They have a great team. They just don't have a 1-2 punch or a star player. Yes, a lot of their starters were all-stars, but they don't have a LeBron, they don't have a Kyrie Irving kind of a player. And I think a championship team and a team that's going to win a title needs to have those kind of players. They do have a solid starting 5. Their starters average 75 points per game, so that's good. If your bench can chip in with 20 to 25 points per game, you get to that 100 point, get to those 100 points. You play some solid defense, you shouldn't lose a lot of games. If you can score 100 points, you should win 9 out of 10 of those games. If you can score 100 points and play solid defense, you should win 9 out of 10 of those games, no problem. And they do have solid players. Carroll and Horford, Korver, Millsap, Teague. I'll look at the starting 5. Okay, Teague, 15.3 points per game, 7.4 assists. Millsap is averaging 15.7 points per game with 9 boards, and then he chips in with 3.8 assists. Korver's got 11.3 points per game, 5.2 boards, 2.4 assists. Horford is averaging almost a double-double. He's averaging 15.6 points per game, 9.9 boards, 4.1 assists. And then Carroll, their leading scorer, averages 17.1 points per game with almost 7 boards to add on to that. So they don't have that one or two guys that are going out and scoring 25 to 30 points a game. They're all going out and scoring 15 to 20 points a game. So that means you're not going to see a lot of double teams kind of thing. So that makes it hard to find some open man, because you're not going to see teams double teaming Horford and then, oh sweet, that now opens it up for Millsap or Carroll. You're not going to see that because they don't have that one guy or 1 or 2 guys that are going out and getting 25 to 30 points a game. They're all doing it as a unit. And their bench is solid. Schroeder's averaging 10 points a game. And then Antics, I think, is a solid number 2 center. He's not going to go out and get you a lot of points. He's only averaging 5.2 points per game and 3 boards. But he's a solid guy to come in when Horford needs some time off to get those 8 to 10 minutes rest in the game that Horford's going to need. You can put Antic in kind of thing. So like I said, I think the Hawks have a great team. They just don't have that one star, that 1-2 punch that is going to be able to get them past James and Irving and the Cavs. When you look at the Cavs, obviously James and Irving combined average 46 100.3 points per game. So if you have two guys on your team that can almost average 50 points per game, going off of my 100 points per game logic, playing solid D, you're going to win. You have two guys that average almost 50 points per game. So then let's say you talk to the other 5-6 guys that see some game action. They only got to average 10 points a game, and then you're going to get to that 100 points. So it really eases off the pressure on your number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys that are coming off the bench to get those points. Irving's averaging 19.8 points per game. James averaging 26.5, as well as 10.2 boards and 7.9 assists. So James is playing fantastic in these playoffs. Like I said, those other guys chip in with their 10 points, you're going to win. J.R. Smith, 11.3 points per game. Shumpert, 10.4. Mozgov, 8.5. Thompson, 8.5. And Dellavedova, 6 points per game. So there you go. They're doing their job. They're getting it done. And Thompson is playing really well. Obviously, I like the Canadian players with his 8.5 points per game. He's also averaging 9.4 boards per game. So he's almost averaging a double-double per game. And I think that's solid. I think bringing in James and having Kevin Love come to the team, I think, if anything, that might have stifled Thompson's career a little bit in his development. But I think if he's had an opportunity to play with James, 95% of the league is going to say, yes, if you have an opportunity to play with LeBron James, he's successful, he's won titles, you're going to play with him. So I think he's going to be happy to win a title, and I think he's got a very good shot facing the Hawks. They've made a deep playoff run to make it to the NBA Finals, depending on who they play in the Warriors or the Rockets. So those are my thoughts on the Eastern Conference and what I think will happen there. When I look at the Western Conference, right off the bat, I'm going to say I think the Warriors are going to win this one as well. So I think it's going to be Cavs and Warriors in the final. Warriors were the number 1 seed in the West. They had a 67-15 record. So as much as I said a 60-win season is impressive, they almost had a 70-win season. So that's fantastic as well. The Rockets, number 2 seed in the West with a 56-26 record. So that just proves how dominant the Warriors were this year. The number 2 seed had 11 fewer wins than they did. So that's why I think the Warriors will win this. I also just think the Warriors are just too strong with Curry and Thompson. Curry and Thompson are averaging 48.9 points per game. They're playing fantastically well. You have the MVP there, and then you got the number 2 MVP and Harden over with the Rockets. And Harden and Howard are a great 1-2 punch there with the Rockets. So I think, like I said, with the Hawks not having that 1-2 punch with that star player, you have the Warriors and you have the Rockets that have that. With the Warriors, you got Curry and Thompson, and then with the Rockets, you got Harden and Howard kind of thing. I just feel that the Warriors have a little bit stronger bench, maybe a little more veteran presence in the bench with Iguodala and Barbosa and Livingston, and I think just Curry and Thompson have just been playing far too well. And I think when you match up the guard positions, you got Curry and Thompson with the Warriors, and then with the Rockets, sure, you got Harden as your number 1 guard, but then Terry's your number 2 guard, and Jason Terry's only been averaging 9.2 points per game, and as great as Harden and Howard have been playing, Terry's going to have to step it up. Terry's going to have to average more than just 9.2 points per game in order for them to be successful. Their bench is solid with the Rockets, with Josh Smith now starting, and he was averaging 12.9 points per game with 5.8 boards. So now you have Jones and Brewer, I think, are your 1-2 guys off the bench. 11.3 points per game for Jones and 12.4 for Brewer. But after that, their bench gets pretty weak. I mean, Capella will come in when Howard at the center position needs a break. But Capella is only averaging 3.6 points per game, 2.8 boards. So you're not going to see Howard off the court too much. And I think with Howard, he's averaging 17.2 points per game. But I think with Howard, it's the boards, it's the rebound productivity that you want out of Howard, and he averages 13.8 boards per game. So I think that's kind of where the flip happens. Is the Warriors, I think, have the better guard combo in Curry and Thompson compared to the Rockets with Harden and Terry. But when it comes to center position, I think Howard is leaps and bounds a better player than Bogut. Bogut has only been averaging 5.3 points per game for the Warriors and 8.3 boards, though, which is solid. But Howard's been averaging 13.8 boards. So Howard's been averaging 5.5 more boards per game than Bogut. But again, Bogut doesn't need to be a big scorer when you have Curry and Thompson averaging almost 50 points a game kind of thing. Green's averaging 13.8 for the Warriors. Barnes is averaging 11.1. And Iguodala, he comes off the bench, chips in with his 8.5 points per game. So they have the players with the veteran presence that can come in off the bench and still produce for them. But Curry and Thompson are going to be playing, 38, 37 minutes per game. You're not going to see them off the court a heck of a lot. but that's because they're playing so well, and you want your star players out there, especially if you want to make it to the conference finals. So I think that's where the flips are. Better guard combo for the Warriors, but a better center with the Rockets. And is that a trade-off? Is that an even trade-off? I'm not quite sure it is. Like I said with the Rockets, Harden's been playing fantastic with his 26.7 points per game and 8 assists, and then he chips in with his 4.8 boards. Harden's been playing great. Definitely deserving of an MVP. It was a tough decision, I think, probably for the league to give it to Curry. I think Harden was just as equally deserving. So I think that's going to be a great story to watch in this series, as you got the MVP and the guy who was number 2 in the vote getting for MVP facing off against each other. So we'll see what happens with that. I just think that the Warriors have a better guard combo, more veteran presence off the bench, and the Rockets, as great as they are, I don't think Harden and Howard are enough to win a championship. A great 1-2 punch that they are, yes, they average 43.9 points per game. But then if you look at the 1-2 punches that I've been talking about, Curry, Thompson, and Harden and Howard, there's a 5-point swing right there just based off of the 1-2 punch that those two teams bring. And I think that's going to be enough for the Warriors to win this series. Again, in 6. I'm not going to think the Warriors are going to run away with this series. I think it will be a tough series. But at the end of it, I think we're going to see the NBA Finals with the Cavs taking on the Warriors. And then I'm going to say right now, if my predictions come true from these conference finals, I'm going to call it right now, Warriors are going to be your NBA champions this season in a 6-game series win over the Cavs in the finals. Thank you again all for watching. You can follow me on Twitter at GHAM614. I appreciate all the support, and if you agree or disagree with anything I'm saying, feel free to comment. I love the banter. I love the discussion. It's always fun to talk with fellow sports fans out there. So thank you again all for watching. Do appreciate it. Enjoy these conference finals, and I'll be talking to you tomorrow as I'm going to be talking about a new city. This week it's going to be Indiana. So